Welcome to the Grand Potential. We are a podcast connected to the Grand Connection virtual networking community. And our podcast series right now is called Creating Certainty in Uncertain Times. And we have a absolutely special guest today. She's a virtual video strategist. She teaches people how to plan, produce, publish, and promote their online videos. She teaches people how to get to their authentic message and get that out there on video and create influence with their potential clients and boost their bottom line. Sheryl, welcome.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I really appreciate being here. Susan, great to be with you as well.
So Sheryl, you have a really interesting saying that you use with video in regards to your ACE model. What is that?
The ACE model is predicated on those three words. So the acronym is ACE, but it represents authenticity, content, and exposure. And my belief is that if you, as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a coach, a consultant, someone who's looking to build online, you need to have all three of those elements together in order to be successful, in my opinion. Now, authenticity from the standpoint of you have to really show up as your own self. I think so many times we see people who are trying to just emulate or imitate, rather. Emulate is not bad, but imitating other people. And the truth is, you really have to be your own self. And then I think with regard to content, you have to be putting out content. There are so many people whose businesses are not growing online. And when you start to dig into it, you find out they're not making any content. And that's definitely going to be detrimental. And then finally, I think it's really about exposure. I see people all the time who are creating maybe content. If they get that far and they're putting it on their phone or they're making it on an iPad or something like that, but yet don't publish the content because there's fear there. There's fear of rejection. There's fear of not getting it right. And so I believe that you really need to have all three of those things in order to be successful today.
Absolutely agree 100%. Our three values with the Grand Connection that we represent here in our podcast, the Grand Potential, are connect, create, and collaborate. So I'm going to start with connect, Sheryl. How did you connect with such purpose and passion to support people on video?
I think it happened gradually and quite organically. A bit of background, I was a TV broadcaster for 25 years. 17 of those were spent at the Weather Network, which is one of the 50 best managed companies, year after year with 100 million in revenue annually and plus. So, a big company and one of the biggest brands in Canada as far as specialty TV networks are concerned. Spent 17 years there. But what happened was that it became very apparent as social media came into the world and everything started going digital. At a moment in time when I was managing a news department of 17 people across the country, and digital was really taking hold, right? It was becoming the focus. And I don't know, it was a little bit of, I don't know if it was writing on the wall, but I could just sort of see, wait a minute, TV is declining and digital is going up. And I wanted to be on the side of expansion rather than on the side of retraction. So I just decided, and I think I've always had somewhat of an entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. And I just thought, you know what, I've been doing this now for 17 years, 25 years in TV. How could I parlay that into a business of my own? Because I truthfully really wanted to work from home. I had spent all those years commuting 2+ hours a day and many times. And if you're familiar with Southern Ontario snow squalls, you'd know that there were many winters when that drive took 3 hours plus to get home. And so I just had enough of that and really wanted to build my own thing.
That's wonderful. And you were led into it, I think, based on the market, which is really interesting, but also this internal voice, because you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit within you in managing yourself. How has the journey been since you've started? How many years have you been in business and serving people online to have more confidence in creating videos?
Well, it's interesting because the journey for me began in 2013. I spent 4 years still working through learning about marketing, indoctrinating myself into, different courses or ways of thinking, or personal development was really big for me at that time. I had to kind of change my mindset from an employee to an entrepreneur. And that process took 4 years, So for 4 years, I was spending my vacation time traveling to seminars all over North America, and, spending a good investment in doing that. As you know, when we travel to these events across, Canada or the US, it can add up. And so I was investing in myself, time and money, learning everything I could about marketing. And I also started launching my own underground coaching programs quietly, because that was a bit of a calculated risk on my part, because I wasn't really probably supposed to do that. But nonetheless, I needed to have a proof of concept that where I was going to go was actually going to be fruitful and be able to support me and my family. And so after 4 years of doing that, then I went out on my own. So I've been on my own since 2017.
And you were preparing yourself. I think that's a critical piece to connect with, is getting ready and preparing yourself, because there is a transitional period, and to receive that personal as well as professional support going through that transition is super important. What is one thing that you wish you'd known when you started your business?
When I started on the journey, I didn't really quite realize it was a journey. So I thought in 2013, I just thought, oh, I'm going to learn about marketing and I'm going to launch and everything's going to be okay. Come to learn that it's actually a process, that it is a journey, and that it is an evolution. And you do not know all the answers. And I think the number one thing I've learned is that I never will. I never will know all the answers. It's a process and it's an evolution, and we all need to be lifelong learners and be okay with that. That the solution, the answer, the numbers are not ever finite. It's never just going to land and be like, there's the answer. It isn't about that. It's about the process and journey that you go through. And it is frankly, a commitment over time.
Absolutely. And it's an allowing, it's almost a surrendering position to keep finding solutions to those answers, reaching out. And we're going to talk about collaborate later, but finding those support systems and those people to support you and where you're may have limitations, and you to support other people where you can share your strengths with them.
And it can be scary. I mean, I remember at one point there was a time I looked at my checking account and there was like $100 in there, and I'm like it's scary because you're investing in yourself. You are pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. You're moving into areas that you might not feel 100% confident in. But you have to move past that thing. And I think it's really about trust, that you have to trust yourself to know that you're in the right place at the right time. You're at the right stage. You're going to, and it's about, knowing yourself, self-awareness, and just knowing, having this internal knowing that you are on the right path and that you can get there. You have everything inside of you that you need to get to where you need to be.
And it is about stretching out of your comfort zone, because that is an absolute consistent for purposeful, passionate entrepreneurs, is constantly moving forward and building that momentum, stretching out of your comfort zone, personally and professionally. I'm curious, just so we can connect with, what is the vision of your business in the next 3 to 5 years, Sheryl?
We have two branches of what we do, and it hasn't always been the case. But now we have two branches of what we do, one of which is coaching and training. So this is for the startup entrepreneur, the emerging entrepreneur, someone who recognizes they need video, but is a little bit afraid, not sure how to do it. We coach and train people to be able to create profitable video content. And then the other side of what we do is more on the done for you side. So these would be more established entrepreneurs, people who have products or services that are profitable, but now they're ready to scale. They need the content maybe done for them. They don't want to be in the weeds of doing all the technical stuff. So we really have two things that we do.
One is extremely customizable. Well, actually, probably both of them are they
both are.
not? Yes, exactly. depending on where that particular entrepreneur is on their journey, which we just suggested along their path. I'm curious also, how do you connect with your audience?
I do it through content. I do it by providing as much, and we hear this a lot in the marketing world, value, providing value. I think it becomes an overused term. Maybe another way of saying it would be goodwill, putting goodwill out into the world and doing that without expecting anything in return. And I think that's what being of service is really all about. I can't say, Carolyn, that when I was in my 20s that I had this philosophy or thought. I think I was much more driven by my own ego when I was in my 20s. Like, I'm going to get that TV job and I'm after it. I'm going to do it. I think it took time. Now I'm in my, approaching my 50s. And so I feel like I'm at a stage in my life where it is about paying that forward and helping to bring other people up and say, you know what, I've had the good fortune of being in a really cool profession and I was in the spotlight, and now it's my turn to put other people into their own spotlights. So I think that a lot of what I do in terms of content is around that idea of service. And whether that's through my weekly training that I do every Wednesday, or whether it's through the content that I put out on my YouTube channel or live stream interviews or whatever means, or any channel, I feel like that's how I connect. And I try to do that using the ACE model that we just described, right? I try to bring my own authentic voice to that. I try to provide valuable content that really can move the needle for someone. And then of course I put that out there, and I have strategies whereby I can take one piece of content and put it out on upwards of, 10 plus platforms at the same time.
Wow, that is incredibly inspiring. And I want to really acknowledge you on your level of service. You put a lot out there every single week to support people, to level up their confidence, to level up their strategy on video. And I just really thank you. And I think you're just really making a really positive impact in people's lives and their businesses. I really
Thank
do.
you.
I
I appreciate
really
that.
respect you, Sheryl.
Thank you.
I
Thank
do.
you.
Susan, would you like to step into create with Sheryl?
Very excited to be here with you, Sheryl.
Hi, Sue.
Carolyn and I have been on our video journey. We've been in business and marketing for decades, but video is so new to us. And when we met you, Carolyn came and said, I met this woman and it was on a Zoom meeting, and she knows video so well. We have to have her come speak at the Grand Connection. So we're thrilled that you can help our community get some confidence in these skills and learn to create. And in creating, you talk about planning, producing, publishing, and promoting your videos, right? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit more about that flow, those 4 steps?
Yeah, of those 4 steps, I think often it's either the planning phase that gets missed or the promotion phase. But let's talk first about planning. That really means, what is the strategy? There are a lot of people who know that they should be doing video. They see their competitors doing video. They see the gurus and coaches they follow doing video who are successful. And then, so they know it's like, well, this video thing is not going anywhere and I need to do it. But what they often do is they just go, oh, well, let's just turn on a phone. Let's get on a live. Let's open this app and let's just talk. And so that can work to a degree, right? It can work to a degree, but without there being a planning phase, without knowing the strategy behind what those videos are about, why you're doing them, the intent behind them, you're missing the mark and you potentially are leaving money on the table, right? So it's not to say that you couldn't just open your phone and connect with someone and do that, but it's, why are you doing the videos? So I come to this from the standpoint of, how are we utilizing video to grow your business? Not just video for the sake of doing video. I am not the person that you come to learn how to create a viral TikTok. Like, that's not what I do, right? I'm not a person that you come to create any kind of viral video. Virality is not something that you control. It's something that the market dictates. And so I would rather go into it with intention, with strategy. And that's what the planning phase is really all about.
So let's just go through an example. Let's say, because I've got a lot of clients and they come to me and they say, I do websites. So they say, I want to have a video on my homepage of my website that talks about my company. So let's say they want an informational video on the website that's going to convert them to call. How would you go through this process with that?
Okay, so in that one case, I mean, we know where we want to use that video. So that isn't, in my mind, really part of the content marketing world as much as that's a one-off style of video that we're going to use for that one particular purpose. So if we're creating a video for a about section on a website, then I would do that differently. I would approach that because that's what that needs to be. It needs to be, who am I and what's my value proposition and how can I help you and all of that. If I was crafting that, or if I was coaching someone to craft a video like that, I would take the approach of show some personality, share something personal about yourself. I think in a video like that, I think there does need to be some thought and some crafting in terms of what the script might be.
Yeah.
For that kind of video. Now,
and I see a lot of people, they come and they expect, they don't script it properly and they think they're just going to go record something and it doesn't work.
Right.
Well, it's not representing them at all. And if you're going to put that time and effort into that video, properly plan it out. What's the goal of the video and script it? Do you help people with the scripting too?
I definitely can. But what I would say is, when you're looking at videos, so you have different kinds of videos that are out there. So for example, these would be one-off videos that do require some level of scripting. I'm not necessarily a proponent of scripting for social media videos, for content marketing. In other words, the videos that you're producing consistently week in and week out, or daily in some cases. But these type of one-off videos, where it be, let's say, the About Me section on a website, very specific. Another example of that might be a sales page. If you're creating a video sales page, that video does need to be scripted, because a sales page, again, the intent being sales, has to hit certain beats. There's certain words you want to hit at certain times in the video. There's more intentionality behind that type of video. The first thing I say is, okay, well, what kind of video is this going to be? Again, these are kind of one-off examples that I'm giving. This side of the equation is more the content marketing strategy. That's like what kind of content are we creating week in and week out? And those I don't like to see people script them word for word. I do think you should plan them. I think it's beneficial to have bullet point form notes that keep you on track and keep you really sharing the best that you can in that video. But I don't like to encourage people to script it, because most people are not skilled enough to be able to memorize a script, nor deliver it well enough, having memorized it. And then some people will say, well, I'll use a teleprompter. Okay, that's fine. But I've spent 17 years in front of a teleprompter. It is a skill set that takes time to get good at.
I did a video with the teleprompter once.
Some people can do it well, but that's why I recommend that people just know your stuff, become a better speaker, become a better extemporaneous speaker, become someone who can, at any moment's notice, be asked a question and have something thoughtful to say about that without having to write a script.
So I took a course last summer on storytelling for your business. And I found that very helpful, because I now have these scripted, and we had to also practice using cameras and things and getting feedback on it. So it was great jump into trying to use video with a small group in a safe place at the start. Yeah. And, but what's nice now is I have these little stories that I can bring up. They're kind of part of my library. And I really need to put together more of them. And I think for a business too, that part of this whole process is to have these little nuggets that they can bring into anything that you're doing. And then if you're being interviewed by somebody on video, or if you've got, you're meeting somebody in a Zoom room for the first time, you've got these little gems that then you can run that little reel. I know I was hearing a speaker on a podcast and he was saying Ronald Reagan used to have good little recordings that he could just bring in, and that would just come in, and he was professional when he spoke because of that. And do you give people sort of an idea on how to formulate some of these skills so that they can be better on video and more comfortable? Because if you don't have that, you're fumbling.
Yeah, there's a great book called Story Worthy by Matthew Dix, and he talks extensively in that book about how to start and maintain a repertoire of stories. And these are not necessarily stories that are grand, pardon the pun, grand in nature, but they can just be little things that just happen in your day-to-day life, and that you'd be amazed at how many seemingly insignificant things happen in your life, and that there's a lesson that can be learned through those seemingly insignificant things.
And if you can find a way to tie that lesson to what you're selling. So to
Correct.
look for them, like, that my kid's doing this, and that can be related to marketing in a certain way, or to video production, or whatever you're speaking about is really a way to tie in that personal part and get people to know. And that, I guess, comes back to being authentic, right? Part of your ACE model.
Yeah, well, the reason why I think a lot of people shy away from sharing stories is because they're embarrassed, shy, they don't want to be vulnerable, and so they don't want to share those personal stories. But I would encourage people to do that. As an example, and I've struggled with this. I feel like I've struggled with this as someone who was in TV broadcasting for years. I wasn't necessarily encouraged to share vulnerable moments of my life in front of millions of people. So I come by it honestly, I suppose. But I think that one example of this would be, I did teach college for a TV performance at the college level, a couple of rounds of that over the course of my career. But the interesting thing about that is that I'm actually a college dropout. Like, I never finished college. Now, while I was a broadcaster, I would never have mentioned that. And so I think it's just growth. I think it's getting to a point where you're like, this is part of my authentic story. This is a part. Another example would be, that I grew up as a teenager, poor. And I have never really ever wanted to kind of go back there and drudge that up, or to share that. But now I'm at a point where it's like, that is part of my story, and I should not be embarrassed by that. I think if anything, it could help to inspire someone else to know that, oh, gee, if she could do it, why can't I?
And I truly believe that those personal stories are our gifts to give back. And like you said, paying it forward is really supporting people who may be in that exact same situation, to give them hope, to let them open their mind to the opportunity and possibility of what's available to them. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Susan, while you asking me, I know that we're sort of talking about your connect, create, and I know we'll go into the third in a moment, but this does tie back into the connection part, that as we are creating, that if you can be vulnerable and share stories that pertain, and always from a standpoint of value, and how can this move the needle for someone else? Like, it does tie into that connection piece.
And then what you create is a better creation.
Yeah.
Back to your ACE model, you had a visual to show us, right?
Yeah, I can share it with you. I've got it prepared here. So let's just
So
go.
those of you listening, if you're not watching this on the video version of it, you can download. This is part of a 13-page book you have for our listeners.
Yeah. I call this a 6-month publishing plan, and you can get in touch with me and I can get it to you for free. But and this is just one section of this visual here on the ACE model that we talked about earlier. But this is really my version of, hey, what does it take? What are the things you need to do over the, say, course of a 6-month period of time in order to publish video content to get you to where you want to go? And so I talk about the order in which to do things, and share a whole bunch of different, links and resources. But this visual aid in particular is, again, that authenticity, content exposure. And the idea here is that if you're authentically you and you're creating great content, but you don't publish it, then you remain a best kept secret. If you are, standing in your own authentic voice and you're putting out content, or publishing on social media, let's say, and getting that content the exposure that it probably should have and deserve, but the content is promotional only in nature, like it's just buy my stuff and just trying to sell, then it's a long road to monetization, because people are not on social media to be sold to. it's not selling media, it's social media. So often people, and I see this a lot, where people are just creating promotional. And I go, no, it's not about that. The other thing is, if you are, say, creating some really good content, goodwill content, you're putting it out there, but you're doing it from the voice of someone else, where you're trying to imitate someone else, then viewers don't become followers or fans. So that's why all three of these components are crucial to your online success.
Can you give an example of something that, is right in the middle, and that where they all meet together so perfectly?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately this is business growth, right? In the middle of this is business growth, online success. In other words, I have, you are a coach or consultant or small business owner who's looking to really market yourself in the world that we live in today, which is the digital age, not market like it was 1999. And I'm a big fan of Prince, trust me, but you do not want to be marketing like it's 1999. You have to work in the world that we live in now. So I think that middle part, Susan, is really about, having a flood of clients consistently, selling your products and services effortlessly, attracting attention from, more PR, people who might bring you up onto their stages so that you can get in front of more people. All these great things happen when you find that online success in the middle.
And I've also seen a lot of people where they're pumping out the content, but the content isn't quality content.
That's right.
And then they're gonna, like, they're getting some awareness by that, but it's almost bad, like poor awareness, because people are seeing it as too much. The content's not quality. So it may be better, like, this is what I work with clients on too, is to take that content and do one or two really good pieces that people will really, really resonate with, and then start building up that credibility and trust through that.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. When we hear about thought leadership, what does that really mean? It means that you have your own ideas, that you have your own proprietary processes, that you have your own methodologies, that you've developed a point of view, and that you have some type of value proposition to share. So, like, thought leadership, I think, is ultimately what it's about. When we see content that we would maybe, deem as not great quality, it's likely because they're really just stealing from someone else, or telling us what we already know, or just giving it to us like kind of like yeah, I think I already, you know what I mean. We have to stand up and go, what is my view on this? What is a new take? And maybe it has been done before, but it's never been done by you. So what is the flavor that you can put on that? What is the spin, in other words, that you could put on that? What is another way of saying that in your own voice, so that it does resonate with people?
And sometimes taking something that's, people may, it's described it's complicated, but if you can drill it down to make it more simple for people, that really goes well on, especially on video.
Like David Fagan, who's a good friend of mine, and he says, make complex things simple, right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what that is. And that's precisely, actually, a great example is that visual aid that I just shared, is my distilling down all of the complication that can be, and bringing it into 3 steps, 3 things that the average person who's watching this now could go, okay, I just have to do those 3 things. Now, there's a lot involved in each of those steps, but nonetheless, it's distilling it down into something that is more palatable.
And it's helpful when you use acronyms. Now, you also talk about the 3 C's of video marketing success. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah. So the 3 C's are, it's finding the courage, right? Start with the courage. It is really, I know you've alluded to this, I'm not sure I like the video thing as much. I hear that all the time. Of course, I get that. But at the end of the day, the videos do not fall from the sky. They have to get created. They have to be, again, planned, produced, published, and promoted. So they don't fall from the sky. And you do have to sometimes dig deep to find the courage to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I know it's for the best of not only my business, but my message. Like, if I really want to have impact in the world, you can't just stay silent. You have to tell the world about it. So I think it's finding the courage, and maybe that requires digging deep to find it. The second part is commitment, which is listen, and I kind of alluded to this earlier too, but the content marketing, it is a process. It happens week after week, day after day. Having a strategy isn't something that you just, a video strategy is not something that you just go, oh, I'm just going to make these 5 videos and then I'm done. Right.
Yeah.
I see
Well, and
a
it's
lot of people do
consistency
that.
in marketing. It's all about consistency. If
Right.
you do 1 or 2 and then you stop, you're going to lose it, right? You got to
That's
keep
right.
going.
That's right. You got to be like on the, it's on, you know, you're on the track, you're doing it. So I think it is about that commitment, and that can be different for everyone. You know, there are people who commit to doing a video every day. There are people who commit to doing a video, a macro piece of content every week, and then maybe make some live streams, here and there to fill in the gaps. The strategy can be different, but what doesn't change is that there is some level of commitment. And then I think that the third part, which is the confidence part, the confidence comes from doing it. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people do is they say, well, I know I should be doing video and I know it would benefit my business. I'm just going to wait until I feel more confident about it. I'm just going to wait until I'm feeling more ready. And by ready, they mean confident. And the truth is like that day never comes. So you have to get out there, and you got to, again, courage, commitment equals confidence. It's the confidence comes from doing it, not from waiting around and hoping that it's going to just someday fall in your lap.
So for Susan and I starting this Grand Connection, I hadn't been on Zoom before the last week of March ever in my life, or videoed anything. We dove into the pool. We honestly did it with some planning, yet we learned and became more confident by doing it. It's exactly what you're saying. We've done 17 events now. I absolutely feel blessed and honored to host the Grand Connection and have all these businesses come from around the world. Our consistency is close to 100 people showing up at each of our events. I feel so fortunate and grateful. And it's because Susan and I had the courage to start this virtual networking community. We had 20 people the first event we had, and it was not good. I just have to tell you.
Oh, our audio was bad. Our cameras were bad. The lighting was bad. Everybody, we had to remind people to unmute. We had to remind ourselves to unmute ourselves.
Oh my goodness. And it just got better and better. I think it's exactly what you're saying right now, is just having the commitment. Our commitment is to serve the businesses, to bring them resources, business skills. I mean, you're serving them right now by honoring us to be on this podcast. And we really want to support businesses to shift and thrive. And as this series is, creating certainty in uncertain times. Your education on video is supporting those businesses to create certainty in their bottom line, which is they're having an opportunity to connect with more people online than they ever would in person, right?
Yes. And it's so interesting that you bring up your own example, that you found the courage to do it. You might not have loved the idea at the early stages, but you did it. And yeah, your first one, you admitted, did not go well. But guess what? You got back up on the horse and you did it again. And you did it the next week or the next month. And so here you are now with hundreds of people coming to your events. You're continuing to grow. But imagine if you hadn't found the courage to do that first Zoom.
It has been Susan's and my calling. And when we stood there and looked at the Grand Canyon on March 15th, just as COVID hit, we both looked at each other and said, we know way too much about business. We can't sit here and not help them and support them and guide them and lead them. We just have to do this. And Susan said, yes, we do. She said, why don't we form a virtual networking community? And I said, good, I've run some networking groups, sure. And it's become our calling. And I truly believe that, Sheryl, what you're doing with video and how you are so deeply in service to people, you care so much. And I feel it as well as I see it. I think you're leading from the same position as Susan and I, with so much purpose and passion too.
That's my intent. And I feel like feel like this is my calling, and that all of the things and events of my life have led me to being at this moment right here with you, right? This is all supposed to happen. This is all the path. And what I love is that you both are really in real life and real time exemplifying my ACE model.
Well, we are, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know we were aced. Susan.
You are, that's right. You are acing it. Because you are, right? You're both come to the table with your own way and flavor and authentic voice. Neither of you are trying to be someone that you're not. You are creating incredibly valuable content, and then you're putting it out there.
Well,
and the challenge part too for small businesses is getting that exposure, because you could spend a lot of money and time on getting that content and then trying to get it out there. Now, for exposure, do you show people how to increase their tribes and gain more followers?
Yeah, well, I think once we start talking about the exposure part of it, you really have 3 types of media. You have your earned, owned, and paid media. And so I'm a person who focuses more on the organic side, not so much the paid things. Like I have people that, I can drive people to who know more about the paid side of things. I'm more on the organic side, but earned and owned is really where I live. And so, yeah, when we're talking about exposure, and that may be a conversation for another time, because we could probably talk about that for an hour.
A whole week of podcasts on exposure.
Yeah.
And, one thing with good quality video though is that you can have that content there, and if it's not dated, it's around for a long time. So you can use it and you can multi-purpose it too. So you can have it. It could be going out through social media. You could be putting it on an area on your website where you might even link to on part of a sales, like if you're putting out a sales proposal and link to that content, or answering questions that people ask you all the time that are common questions. So it becomes reusable in many, many ways too. So it gets value for the time you put into it.
We are very big on repurposing, because solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who don't have massive teams, maybe have an assistant, maybe have a VA, but like largely wearing all the hats, we have to be super efficient with our content and be able to get as much leverage from that one piece of content as we can. So I'm a big proponent of repurposing. On the done for you side, what we do in terms of the virtual video production, we will help people with that, right? It's like, how do we get that one piece of content and put it out on all these? That's why we take a piece of video and we turn it into a square and a vertical and a horizontal. And then we do all the thumbnails, and then we do the image quotes, because we have to find ways to leverage and maximize that one piece of content.
So that piece of content would go on multi-channel. So that's what you're making the content for the different sizes it needs for the different channels.
Yes. Yeah.
And
we're also big on not necessarily if you're new, but I think if you're more intermediate and you're ready for this. But I love Restream, and I use Restream to do multi-streaming. So that is doing one live stream and then getting that out to multiple platforms live at the same time. So that's another
okay, that's uncertainty comes up and crops up as you say live streams. So as Carolyn, what was your quote on comfort that you said?
Really, honestly, my quote is this, and it's everything that you're suggesting, Sheryl. It's become comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. I think I have lived that mantra since I was 15. I'm actually going to, I'm part of a compilation book that's coming out here not too long, in a book called Visibility. And in that chapter, I talk about saying yes, and how really from the age of 15, I have been saying yes to things that have made me feel uncomfortable, and I got comfortable with it. And I believe wholeheartedly that that's why I'm sitting here today.
And that's a beautiful message for every single person to hear here, because as an entrepreneur, I think that has to be one of our key strengths.
Yeah. Carolyn, you as a coach, what do you tell your clients who are uncomfortable?
Congratulations.
I love that. Congrats.
Let's celebrate it.
So Sheryl, just back to this uncomfortable stuff. Because I really am uncomfortable with video. Okay. I'm okay. I'm actually uncomfortable with the podcast stuff too, the recording. I'm great live. I don't mind the live because you're getting interaction. You see people. I used to speak live and I used to teach classes at SFU, 300 students, no problem. But the fact that I'm staring right now into a little dot of a camera and this is recorded and it's there forever makes me uncomfortable. And are there any steps or practices we should do to become more comfortable and gain this muscle?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we do is we help people. We host a challenge. We do it in a challenge format. So we'll do a 30-day live stream challenge. And how we do it is we provide prompts to people, right? To say, okay, you're going to do the challenge, great. You're going to be stuck with what to talk about. So we got that covered. And we give people prompts because with prompts, people don't feel like, I don't know what to say in this video. The idea is to get them comfortable with the process, the mechanics of going live on any platform that they choose using their mobile device in most cases. And the idea is to build momentum. So, and by giving them these prompts, which don't have necessarily much to do yet with their business, it's more about them. It's more about, and we do this strategically, but the reason that the prompts are the way they are is because we're asking people to share their own opinion about something or an idea that they have, or it's like a fill in the blank. My favorite book is blank because blank. So these are not difficult questions to answer for most people. And we give them the option. You can talk about anything you want, but for those who are stuck, here's the prompt. We have gotten such great response from people who have been afraid of doing video. And they say these prompts are it, because it allows them the freedom to be able to just fill in the blank and say something without overthinking it and without getting too far in their head and, I have to write a script. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's how we do it. We choose to do it through a challenge because the challenge is exactly that. For a lot of people, it is a challenge. And we love to see people who get to the end of the challenge and we watch them. They tag me and I can see, there's Norm again, there's Susan. She's doing her video, not you, Susan, but the other Susan, right? There's Sally. And it's just amazing to see people actually doing the thing that that they're scared to do. So that's how we approach it.
Well, and you obviously celebrate within yourself to see the transformation of people from when they start to the end of the challenge. And I think for you, that would be an incredibly rewarding experience to witness their confidence, to witness their clarity, to witness, them go through that courageous transformation.
Yeah, it is something that lights me up and makes me realize that I'm on the right path. I love that, especially for beginners who are afraid. And that tends to be a lot of people, a lot of people. If people are working with me, say one-on-one in a call, or maybe in a coaching program or something like that, same kind of transformation. They're just at a different level of the transformation. But the fear is, I think, always there to some degree. You know what I mean? Like, even for me, I'm not really scared of going on video anymore, but there are some, like, vulnerability. I kind of explained earlier that's an area that I am not 100% comfortable with. So I try to push myself out of my own comfort zone and share stories that I would not have previously shared. So I am writing that in a book or sharing it with you on this podcast because it's helping me to push myself out of that comfort zone.
Great. So I'm going to switch over to collaborate now. And Sheryl, thank you for all your wisdom. Oh my goodness. We are bringing great goods to our listeners. Thank you. So I'm curious also about what organizations, mentors, or networking groups that you collaborate with and why.
Oh, there are quite a few of them. Let me start with David Fagan and Isabel Donadio, who are the masterminds behind the Top Talent JV. So Top Talent JV Mastermind, this is mind you, it's an invite only type of thing, but you can certainly say Sheryl sent you. They are amazing at helping entrepreneurs through the masterminding kind of process. So that would be one. I have collaborations with a variety of people. The folks at Launches Made Simple. I could go on. let's see, Grow Your Biz, the Growth Academy. Like I could go on, but I have a lot of different connections. The Grand Connection.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I like to, how I see it is collaboration is something, it's just it's a way to reach more people, right? It's a way to be able to reach more people, collaborate and be of service. And it just happens to be through more of a structured type of environment and really through the audiences that other people have built, So there are people who, collaborate with me or want me to collaborate with them for that same reason.
Well, thank you for saying yes. We met at a networking event, David and Isabella, and I just immediately met you and knew that, as Susan said earlier, that you would be able to serve our community and beyond. And so thank you for saying yes.
Yeah. Hey,
to the
you know
grant.
what? I appreciate being asked, and I love coming in and being able to share any nuggets of wisdom that I have gained over the course of doing this for so many years now. But I'm just getting started. In many ways, I feel like that's the case. I'm just getting started.
Well, I also feel the same way, especially with video. So I'm going to commit right now, Sheryl. I'm going to say it live. I'm going to do your challenge.
All right.
Carolyn. We need to make the commitment to let go of our fear in order to actually serve people, because it's really not about us here along this journey of impacting businesses or people's lives. The truth is that it's about them. And the only way that they will receive the knowledge, the wisdom, and the gifts that we all have to share in whatever products and services that we have to give is to get over ourselves, to let go of the fear, step up, step out of our comfort zone, think up, and just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. So I'm doing it.
All right. Congratulations, Carolyn.
Sheryl, I just want to find out from you where our listeners can connect with you online and receive all these wonderful offers and gifts and support that you have available for them.
Well, listen, to keep it simple, just go to my website, right? Go to SherylPlouffe.com and you'll see a big button on there that says free coaching. You'll see a tab that says resources I recommend. There's a contact button. You can reach out to us by email or to our community manager. You could send me a private message on any social platform. There are a lot of ways to get in touch with me, to ask me a question, or just say, hey, what free things do you have, to give me and to put me on my path. So I think the simplest way is just go to my website.
I invite all the listeners to participate in the challenge that Sheryl has on there, because, we all need to step up here, and you can do it too. Join me in Sheryl's 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
So Sheryl, thank you from Susan and I. And you truly represent what it is to reach your grand potential in your business. And I look forward to witnessing your success as time moves forward and our relationship continues. You are truly creating certainty in these uncertain times for people in business. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Susan, for having me.
Thank you.